For my entire childhood, the concept of being creative was always tied to someone who does art, like drawing, painting, or performing. And because my drawing sucks, I always believed that I wasn't a creative person. Until a few years ago, I decided to go on YouTube and search how to draw a human eye. And this is my drawing from the first try. Apparently, I can draw. I just needed to know how. And since then, I started to open up about the concept of creativity again. And I found that I'm actually a creative person. I mean, like, it's not just me. My grandma is creative. My friend is creative. Everybody is creative. You can see it when someone randomly uses a strap to hold their phone charger together, or put flowers in an empty wine bottle, or turn it into like a jewelry tower. Yes, that's called being creative. A lot of people think that they're not creative, and that mostly comes from misunderstanding of how creativity actually works. Creativity almost always starts with a desire to solve a problem. When there is a problem, you start thinking about how to fix it, and then you start imagining solution, and then turn that imagination into reality. That's the core of creativity, and we are all born with it. It's in us. Hi, my name is Mina. Thank you so much for being here. And today we are going to talk about how to unlock your creativity. I mean, like, I'm wearing white again. I guess I'm not so creative. But are you crazy? I love white color. I only have white clothes. So creativity is a broad topic, right? It looks different depending on the field and the individual. Like a person working in fashion would define creativity differently than someone in business innovation, or someone just trying to solve everyday problems. But today, I'm going to share the simple things that I personally do, things that took me from someone who always believed that she wasn't creative, I'm not a creative person, to someone who now embrace it and actually even make content out of it. And yes, I know. I know that most of my content is just like sit down and talking, no crazy editing, because I don't know how, girl. I don't know how. Okay? Let me make some money out of it first, and then I would hire editor. Okay? Anyway, all of my content in each video is part of a creative process. Like, my younger self would never believe that I can do something like this. Like, so the first thing I found most effective for me is writing down every thought, because my creativity, unfortunately, doesn't show up when I needed it. If I just sit down, right, like during working hours and trying to plan my work, like let's say planning a content, nothing will come. Nothing. It comes when I go to lunch, when I'm in a shower, when I'm walking to somewhere, or when I'm about to go sleep. So I always carry like a little notebook like this. This is my little notebook. I have actually 4 of them to write down everything, like a random thing. Ouch. Oh my god. This is one of the things that I wrote. I didn't realize I wrote about this actually. I said 2026. It's actually this year, but in February. Okay, like a few months ago. I said, why is it that when I go out or try to be productive and think about work, I can't think of anything, but it comes randomly when I'm lying in bed, watching movies, or taking a shower? How does this say? Women's beauty standards are rooted in pedophilia. A random quote on TikTok, but what? This is so accurate. Small, hairless, soft-spoken, nobody counts, submissive, etc. Your body and soul don't belong to you anymore. Same goes for your right to know. All you get to know is what they want you to know. Wow. This is some of the quote from the book called On Earth as It Is Beneath. You see? I completely forgot about that. Ubiquitous? How to read that?
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Okay, I never used that word. Maybe I should. But how? Okay, it means something you see or find everywhere that is very common and all around you. You know, something like that. Something like that. Or I just open my notes app and write everything down the moment a thought comes through. Sometimes it's just like one sentence like that, or sometimes it's just like the whole paragraph, and sometimes just like a piece of content comes from a collection of random thoughts like this from a completely different dates that somehow connect into one video. My previous video about why you should stop comparing yourself to others, the first one was actually something that I wanted to talk about. Like I was thinking about at that time, and then I wanted to talk about it, right? But the part about Eileen Gu and the Thai actress, that actually came from the notes I would written on a completely different day. Like I didn't even think of making a content out of it. I just wrote down my thoughts, but somehow they connected perfectly. If I didn't have like notes like these, I would have forgotten already, because we all know that social media is just like making our memory shorter. So write everything down. And I mean it, everything. Random thoughts, something that you see, something that you hear, something that you read, they will come back for you to use it in the future. I'm sure of it. I personally think that creativity can come from any emotional state. Like when you can be creative when you are happy or sad or angry or stressed. It just produces a different kind of outcome. And that's why so many singers go through a heartbreak and then write their best sad song. But I find myself most creative when I feel nothing. Like when I let myself do nothing. I can't think when I'm stressed. I can't think when I'm constantly doing something like working, doom scrolling, watching movies, or listening to podcasts, or just trying to be productive all day, because staying busy actually kills my creativity. Like I mentioned earlier, my best idea usually come at a completely random moments, like when my brain isn't being used. That's because when I'm doing nothing, I let my thought run free, right? I remember one time I went to a cafe to plan my 100 videos. I'm doing a challenge right now. Most YouTubers said that don't quit before you post 100 videos. So I'm going to do that. I'm going for it. If I don't reach at least 10K subscribers after I post 100 videos, I'm probably gonna quit, okay? Anyway, I went to this cafe, right, thinking that like, okay, the cutest atmosphere like this and everyone is just working around me is gonna make me productive. Then I ordered an overpriced matcha because I have to. I had to. And I sat there for like, I think it was about 4 hours, and not a single idea. I cannot write down a single idea. I tried everything, researching, watching YouTube videos, reading article, nothing. So I gave up and called a taxi to go home. And the moment I got in the taxi, the ideas start flowing. Can you believe that? Since then, I actually stopped setting like a dedicated time block to force myself to think. I know that some people use, force themselves to think, like structure brainstorming can work for some people, but it doesn't work for me. Yeah, my best creative thinking happens in the in-between moments, like not during working hours. So try it, do nothing, let yourself be bored, let your brain wander, and see how far your thoughts can go. I think most of us have at least a little bit of a perfectionist in us. Like when you start thinking of something and then start writing it down, and after a while you think, this is so stupid, this is not good, this is not good enough, and then you stop. You give up and actually never move forward to improve it. I did that a lot, yeah, and that kills your creativity. Imperfection is actually what makes creative work powerful, because it's human, it's relatable. We are never going to be perfect, okay? But your creative work can be improved over time if you start embracing your failures and slowly learning from them. And for me personally, right, perfectionism doesn't actually just about the content itself. It shows up in the aesthetic as well. I'm very addicted to aesthetic first priority. My Notion has to be pretty. Yeah, my Notion has to be pretty. My Google Sheet has to be color coded. And I was barely getting anything done because I would spend half of my energy making things look pretty instead of just like doing the actual work. I would spend an extra hour to on a spreadsheet to make it look prettier. I would rewrite the entire notebook because I didn't like my handwriting. When I could have just write them down, however I wanted and just move on, because the goal is just to get the thought out, not to make it look good, right? Not to like it doesn't matter if it's pretty or not. But I didn't do that. I didn't even realize that I was doing this for the longest time. But eventually I started to accepting the ugly work. It doesn't matter anymore how it look. I can just write them down in like something like this. It can look something like this, like totally messy and not pretty. Because when I started to let go of the aesthetic, like I don't have to care so much whether it's gonna be pretty or not. I could focus on what actually mattered. Sometimes when I want to write down some thoughts, I actually go to Obsidian or use like a basic notes on my phone because it's just simple. I don't need to decorate anything. Because if I open Notion, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love Notion to absolute best. I use it to plan my entire life, but sometimes I couldn't help it. If I go in there, I started to decorating because, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl here. I still love pretty things. But yeah, if I just wanted to dump my thoughts or like brainstorming something, I would go to the space where I don't have to worry about how it looks. Stepping outside of my comfort zone is actually what allowed me to start thinking outside of the box. I've always been the type of person who eat the same food for 5 times a week, or watch the same type of movies over and over again, or read the same genre over and over again. For a while, I was actually obsessed with self-help book. So I read 100 of them, right? Nothing is wrong with self-help book. I mean, I still read it from time to time because they're a bit expensive. What are you talking about? But after a while, I kind of find it repetitive because they use the same language or like same frameworks or same mindset. So I decided to switch to fiction for the first time. And it actually helped my personal development much more than some of the self-help book because I get to see character development unfold. I get to see how different people think from different perspectives, and I feel empathy for characters whose lives look nothing like mine is one of the most powerful things you can do to elevate your thinking, expose yourself to different experience, different stories, different ways of seeing the world. Because when you do, you stop thinking in just like a straight line. And that's where creativity lives. Okay, last one. This one is more of like a question to myself and to you. When people talk about being creative, they often think of originality, right? Like you have to create something that completely new, no one has ever seen before, or like it's just completely different. But honestly, I'm not even sure about that. Like, I feel like we all just worked with what is already out there. I feel like every idea I ever had always connects to something else. I've never thought of something that had absolutely nothing, no relation to anything else at all. We just take from what already exists, but we look at it through our own unique lens. And that lens that I'm referring to, that perspective is shaped by your experience, your culture, and everything that you've been exposed to in your life. I read a book called Steal Like an Artist. A lot of people say it give generic advice, but I actually love it. I actually love this book. Like, it genuinely changed the way I think about creativity and give me permission to finally starting to put my imagination into action. One of the core idea of this book is exactly what the title says, like all creative work built on what come before. You study the work of other people who inspires you and you absorb it and then you combine it into your own unique way. And that is not copying. That's how creativity works. I used to feel so guilty when I made something that like similar to what someone else already had done. Even when I was just like, it was just an inspiration. I spent so long searching for my original identity and trying to find like something that was purely mine. And it was exhausting because what does that even mean? Who we are is never just one thing. It's a collection of everything we've seen, everyone we've studied, every idea we've solved. It was never something you had to just go find it. It was already being built the whole time. Hopefully, some of these will help your creativity flow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.